Well, hello, classmates and professor. I want to thank everybody for their discussion boards and the replies. I really enjoyed this semester. It had many personal challenges, which will make it very memorable. My research question that I addressed was, how did World War II affect the economy of the territory of Hawaii? The significance of my research question is based upon that the small amount of research on the topic. There isn't very much. When individuals look at World War II or post World War II, Hawaii is just lumped in with the United States when it really needs to be examined by itself. The reason being, the United States observed an economic boom after World War II. New technology, new trade tariffs, becoming the main creditor during the war allowed the nation of the United States to go from the nation who owed nearly everybody to the nation who was crediting other nations now. The primary sources that I looked at were the newspapers discussing the stock market reports, reports on the number of tourists being tracked, coffee and sugar exporting from Hawaii, fruit exporting, reporting on visitors arriving to Hawaii. The tourist reporting only started in 1921, so it wasn't very much information there. Also looked at firsthand reports of how Hawaii was transformed from a paradise to an island prepared for World War II. Entire sugar plantations were cleared to create places for military housing, military training grounds. Even the number one hotel in the state, the Royal Hawaiian on Oahu, was transitioned to a military housing. Their tennis courts were destroyed and turned into basketball courts. The most famous garden in Hawaii was transformed into a baseball diamond. The beaches were lined with barbed wire. Every government facility was also lined with barbed wire as well. I looked at reports on detainment camps of Japanese Americans, German American, and Italian Americans who lived on the islands and how their detainment affected the economy. I looked at the development of faster and cheaper airfare after World War II and how that helped to create an easier route and allowed more tourists to come visit the island. Before World War II, a family had to spend 54% of their yearly income for a 1 month trip. 1 month trip because it took so long to get there and took so long to get back. I also observed how after World War II, military members just up and left Hawaii in large numbers after the war, causing the housing market to crash in Hawaii, restaurants to struggle, and every other location that was relying on funds from service members to go through very hard times. I looked at the relationship between civilians and service members during the war and how all the conflict caused a lot of issues and how the leaders of the island was trying to rebuild their reputation because people were saying that Americans were being treated poorly on the island, which it wasn't the case. It was just it wasn't a paradise anymore. It was a war zone basically. The sugar industry took 20 years to recover after the war because of the destruction of the plantations. Throughout all my research, what I saw was a territory that should have collapsed on itself. However, the people of Hawaii banded together and rebuilt everything. They made their islands a paradise again and restarted their tourism industry and made it better and stronger. Without the resilient people of Hawaii, I still believe that Hawaii would have recovered because of the destination, but it still would have taken a long time. But by 1967, about 22 years after the war, Hawaii was becoming a force to reckon with in regard to their economic ability. Nowadays, when you look at their economy, each day $48.6 million are spent by tourists, which equates to $17.75 billion per year. Hawaii made an epic recovery, and without much assistance from the federal government. It was the people on the island. But this resiliency shown was one of the reasons why the United States made Hawaii their 50th state. Thank you all for listening. Good luck in your next term of classes. I appreciate it. Take care.